Can you see my screen? Are you able to see my screen? Okay, very good. Fine, guys. So today is our first session, and we are going to start a discussion with some basics. And over the course of the next, I think we have 5 long sessions. We will be covering the concepts of comprehension, and I'll be teaching you strategies on how to tackle these questions in the most efficient manner, getting, if not all, most of your answers correct. So the handout that you have, does everybody have the handout with the 272 pages? There was some confusion with the handouts. Did you get the correct one? It has 272 pages. You have that one. If you come to page number 203, this should come. This is page number 203. Please tell me if you have this handout. Okay, but this is there. This content is there. Okay, fine. Please open this content. It will be there and some other page. Maybe page number, what you said, 193. Is it? Somebody said 193. See page, yeah, 193 or 194. Is it there? Just check if it is there. 193 or 194, and just it's there. Okay, great, fine. Okay, now let's get some basics in place, then we'll start with passages. So first of all, the CSAT exam is 120 minutes and you have 80 questions. Okay, when somebody's raised their hand, just a minute.
Hi sir, sorry to disturb. Actually, I'm from CSAT 6 weekend batch. I have received the CSAT 3 batch. Is this that one?
Pardon?
I'm sorry sir, I'm from the CSAT 6 batch actually. So I have received this Zoom ID for CSAT 3. Is it the correct one?
This is the correct one. This is for I think batch C3.
I'm from CSAT 6 actually. This is the correct one.
You have not received this?
No, I'm from the CSAT 6th batch actually, weekend batch. This is for the CSAT 3rd batch, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I didn't receive the 6th batch Zoom ID actually. Sorry to disturb.
I am not sure about that. I guess you have to contact the coordinator for that. This is for the 3rd batch.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, fine. So, well, you will have 80 questions, okay, to be answered in 120 minutes. And how many have you? So, we'll use the chat box to talk to each other, and you can raise your hand and ask me questions, of course, because I can't see you. So, okay, please type in the chat box and tell me whether you're understanding or whether you have any questions. So, first of all, have you seen previous year's papers? Have you seen previous year's papers, CSAT papers? Okay, what about other students? Have you seen? You have seen? Okay, fine. So, if you would have noticed, roughly 1/3 of your paper will be reading comprehension questions. Roughly 1/3. The lowest has been 25 questions. That was, I think, last year. The highest has been 36 questions. It was in 2015 or 16. Okay, so 36 questions is a lot. It's almost half the paper. And 25 questions is a little less than one third. Lengthy questions. Uh, yeah, lengthy questions. Yeah, you're right. But not lengthy passage. Passages will either be short or of moderate difficulty. Questions tend to be, I won't say lengthy. The options are more descriptive. It's not as if the question itself is very long. Question is fairly simple. There are mainly three types: conclusions, assumptions, and primary purpose. But yeah, they frame it in such a way that you have to work a little. So that ground, you're right. So if you see, around 30, roughly 30 questions will come from comprehension, and I will be giving you strategies whereby you will be able to solve it using a fairly straightforward approach. So first of all, the difficulty, these are some basic questions that students have. So I try to address them before we start with anything. It is not that difficult. The only thing is that it started a very easy. CSAT 2011, 2012 were very easy. And now it has become tougher than before because your passages are more complex and your questions are not that straightforward. But overall, it is not very difficult. Okay, I will give you an approach, and you can follow that approach, and you'll get most of your answers correct. And yes, there is a very scientific approach to RC. A very logical step-by-step approach to solving comprehension-based questions, which will be discussing in the class. So when it comes to the steps of solving these passages, number one question: should I skim and scan through the passage, or should I read it in detail? What do you think? Should we skim or should we read in detail? For this exam, read in detail. Don't skim. No, don't skim. Don't skim. Read in detail. Okay, I'll tell you where skimming is a good idea. Skimming through passages is a good idea in exams where your questions are straightforward and the passages are very lengthy. Okay, why do we skim? We skim because we don't have time to read the entire thing. That is the purpose of skimming. And when is it useful? It's useful when the questions are very straightforward so that you can just skim through and still get the answer. CSAT is not one of those exams. Okay, maybe some other exam where passages are very long and questions appear in order or are very, very straightforward, there you can skim. CSAT passages are quite short. If you see, sometimes they're just, mostly they're just one paragraph, 5 or 6 lines. Sometimes there are two paragraphs, but rarely you will find a CSAT passage that is longer than that. So read the passage in detail, and the questions are not that straightforward. So anyway, skimming is not going to help you because by skimming through options, you can't answer difficult questions. The reason is that when you skim, you're not really understanding much. You're just catching some keywords and trying to find out the answer using those keywords. So it's not very effective for the CSAT exam. Okay, so don't skim, read the passage in detail. Okay, that is point number one. Point number two, the next question arises: how do I manage my time? So now, if you have seen previous year's papers, how many questions do you think you will attempt? 80 are there. Are you going to attempt all 80, or you're going to attempt a smaller number of questions? What do you think? How many questions are you going to attempt? You can type and tell me your plan. Of course, less than 80 questions. You can't attempt more than 80. Okay, fine. Okay, so most of you are saying 50 to 60, which is a fair target. 50 to 60 is fair. Let's say 60. Okay, let's say 60. Yeah, 50 to 60 based on difficulty. Yeah, okay, that's a fair estimate because it's fairly lengthy, and your paper has negative marking as well. So guesswork is not a very good strategy. So yeah, 50 to 60 is a good target to have. So assuming you're going to attempt 60 questions, you have 120 minutes. So we can say that we'll solve roughly 2 minutes. We'll take roughly 2 minutes to solve a question. Roughly 2 minutes, of course, because each question will not take you 2 minutes. Some easy questions will take a few seconds. Some difficult questions may take up to 3 to 4 minutes. Don't spend more than that on any question. If you're not getting it, leave it. Okay, so 50 to 60 questions based on the rule of thumb that I'm going to spend 2 minutes per question. Now, luckily for you, on the CSAT paper, questions appear in blocks, in sets. If you see reading comprehension questions, instructions will be given: read the following passages and answer the 6 or 7 questions that follow. So it's always in a block, 5 6 passages will be given. Based on that, 6 7 questions will be given, roughly 1 question per passage. Some passages more than 1 question, and you have to answer them. Similarly, if you get a reasoning question, reasoning questions will be one after the other, maybe 7 8 questions. Maths questions will be one after the other, maybe 6 7 questions. So you can allocate an overall time. This is how you manage your time in the exam. Okay, you see a reading comprehension section, it says following are the instructions for 7 questions that follow. So how much time can you allocate for the 7 questions that follow? How much time can you allocate for the 7 questions that follow, roughly? Yeah, what about others? What do you think? Because you need to do these things in the exam to make sure that you're not running out of time. 14 minutes, 7 into 2, 14 minutes. So roughly 14 minutes. If you're doing that, it's fine. So this is how you manage your time. Okay, and also practice. So has it happened with you that you're sitting in the exam hall and you're not able to solve a question, but when you come outside you're able to solve it, or when you're solving at home your accuracy is pretty high, but in the exam you get nervous, you start cross checking your answer, uh, you're not sure what to write, you keep looking at the clock all the time. These things happen. Many of us face these problems. You can type and tell me, is it so? Happens sometimes. Okay, what about other students? Have you experienced this? You just get nervous on the day of the exam. It does happen, right? So the solution to this is more and more practice with a timer, so that you get used to solving questions while a timer is running. Okay, for that, whenever we solve questions in class, I'll always ask you to do them first with a timer. Okay, so by the time we're done, you would have already practiced hundreds of questions with a timer, and that will no longer be a problem for you. Same thing, this time management and exam pressure, this is how we are going to overcome this problem. And this is the doubt that many students have: what if I don't understand the words, or what if the passage is very technical? So see, first of all, if you don't understand the words, it doesn't matter, you can still answer the questions. CSAT passages are such, I will not recommend any vocabulary building exercises for you. Leave it, because the words are not that technical. I mean, building vocabulary is not a very good use of your time. When you're solving passages in class, so what you do is maintain an Excel sheet. When we're solving passages in class, whatever difficult words you come across, you write those words along with the meaning and copy the sentence where you saw that word and put that in an Excel sheet. Okay, and if you don't like keeping Excel sheets, you can do it on a notebook, but make sure that you do it. And that way, by the end of the classes and whatever mock test you will be having planned for you, you will have at least 500 600 good words, and that's enough, because things we do in class are mostly old passages, CSAT passages, so that's enough. Okay, I wouldn't recommend reading word banks. Okay, because the CSAT is anyway not very heavy on vocabulary, and you can still answer questions. I'll teach you how to answer questions without knowing the meaning of the word, or you try to. So if you don't understand a particular word, you try to get it from the context, from the sentence, and if you still can't get it, then circle it and leave it, because your purpose is to answer the questions, not to understand each and every word given in the passage. So you can still answer questions, so it's fine. And what if the passage is technical? You know, I don't like passages based on science. What if I get passages based on science? What am I going to do? So the short answer to that is it doesn't matter, because the questions, all the questions can be solved based on the information provided to you in the passage. So even if I am from a commerce background and I get a very scientific passage, it doesn't matter. I can still solve it because all the information is there in the passage. So not understanding words or seeing tough passages is not that big a challenge. Okay, because you can still answer questions. So look at it as a challenge. Don't get scared of the questions, because that many times hampers your progress. These are some basic questions that everybody has. We'll keep seeing more as we proceed. Please keep asking me your questions. Now we come to the types of questions. These are the types of questions that you can see on the exam. First is conclusion. Okay, first we'll be dealing with conclusions and assumptions. Most of our energy will go towards understanding these two. They're very important. So a conclusion is also called an inference. It is also called a corollary, and it is also called a deduction. All four are the same. So these kind of questions are fairly common. So this is one. Second is assumption. This is basically, assumptions are things that the author believes to be true. So you have to identify assumptions. Then third is strengthen, weaken. You will be asked to choose an option that either strengthens or weakens the position of the author. So these questions are not very common. Same with agree, disagree. They may come, but not that common. One or two may come. You'll be given some statements and you'll be asked which of these statements will the author agree with or disagree with. Then this is a big one. This is very important. Primary purpose or main theme. You will be asked questions to identify the main theme or the primary purpose, or they'll word it differently. The most crucial message given by the passage, the most important implication in the passage, overall purpose of the passage, central idea behind the passage, what is the author's focus. So all of these mean the same thing, the primary purpose of the passage. Title of the passage is not really important. It's similar to primary purpose. So I'll teach you this as well, but it's not all that important. And finally, tone of the passage. These kind of questions don't usually come. It's more important to study these so that we have a better understanding of the passage and we can answer other questions more effectively. So if you see question types, the main ones are these: conclusion, most common question types. Then after that, second most common, primary purpose, and then you have assumptions. Other than that, you may get one or two questions from all of these combined, or maybe not even that. So these three are the main ones: conclusions, assumptions, and primary purpose. So yeah, are you clear till now? If I'm going very fast, you can tell me. I'll slow down the pace. And if you don't understand something, please ask it again and again. Okay, whenever you get stuck or you're not understanding anything, feel free, ask it again as many times as you want. Corollary is another word for a conclusion. All these four are the same. Conclusions are things that you can say for sure based on the information provided to you. Okay, I'll explain using an example shortly. So it's the same. Corollary is the same as a conclusion. Now, see your types of passages. Your types will be passages will be any of these types. could be based on science and tech, could be based on art or literature or history or geography, or it could be based on any social science. The passage could be somebody's biography, or it could be based on current affairs. Now, mostly it is current affairs from these, from science and tech or some geopolitics or something. That's mostly how your passages are. If you see previous year's papers, the passages mostly deal with global warming, deforestation, overpopulation, pollution in cities, eco agriculture, sustainable management, wildlife conservation, these kind of topics. It's a common theme. Problems in the world, and they deal with how we can tackle these problems and all that. Mostly you will see CSAT passages are like that. Okay. Now, just excuse me for 1 minute. Okay. Yes. Sorry. So these are your various types of passages from which questions will be asked. Okay. Now, before we begin passages, I want to explain to you some basics about conclusions and assumptions. Okay. See, I'll give a very simple example to explain the basics of a conclusion. Okay. I come and tell you that all the lights in my room are white. Okay. This is information I'm providing you. Okay. It is correct information. You can see my room, all the lights are white. Can you conclude or can you infer? You can also say, can you draw a corollary that no light in my room is yellow? Can you say that? I have told you all the lights in my room are white. Can you say no light in my room is yellow? Yes. Yes, you can, right? You can. You can say that. If I say all lights in my room are white, it is automatically implied that no light in my room is yellow. Because I gave you conclusive information. That yes, if each and every light is white, then there can be no light of any other color. So this is the conclusion. You've drawn a conclusion that no light in my room is yellow. So whatever information you can say is correct for sure, based on the information I provide you, that is called a conclusion. And the information that I provide you is called a premise. Okay. There are two types of information, premise and conclusion. See here, parts of an argument. An argument is any passage or any conversation. Premise, I told you that all the lights in my room are white. That's premise, fact. Conclusion, you concluded, then no light in your room is yellow. That's conclusion. Assumptions are hidden. Assumptions may or may not be there. Okay, we'll shortly come to that, what an assumption is. For now, understand this. Premise and conclusion. Now, if I told you, instead of saying all the lights in my room are white, if I told you most of the lights in my room are white, most of the lights in my room are white. Now, can you say that no light in my room is yellow? Can you say? Can't say, right? Because I've only said most of the lights. But can you say it is possible that no light in his room is yellow? Can we say that? It is possible that no light in his room is yellow. Yes. Yeah, very much. So that's a conclusion. So if I say most lights in my room are white, then you can conclude it's possible that no light is yellow. Or in other words, you can't, you can't arrive at a definite conclusion. These are premises and conclusions. When you read a passage, every sentence is either a premise or a conclusion. Either it's a statement of fact that the author is presenting, statement of fact that somebody else has mentioned, or it is the author's own opinion. All statements are they can be classified into one or the other. Either it's a fact presented by the author, or it is an opinion presented by the author. That's all. Now we will understand assumptions using this example. Okay, tell me if you are able to follow. I have come and told you yesterday the match was abandoned. What is this? Is this premise or conclusion or assumption? I come and tell you match was abandoned. Okay, fine. It is premise. Correct. It is fact. You can read it in the news. You can see it on TV or whatever. You can go to the stadium and verify it. It is something that has happened. It is a fact. You reply, oh, must have rained. Yes, premise and information you can say is the same. It must have rained. What is this? It must have rained. This is your assumption. This is based on an assumption. This is not the assumption. This is the conclusion. You have concluded. You've said this, right? Okay, it must have rained. So you have jumped to a conclusion. Match is abandoned. Okay, must have rained. Must have rained. This is based on an assumption. This is your conclusion. It must have rained. Okay. Assumption is what this is based on. So if you think of it, you have received some information that a match was abandoned, and you have given a reply that okay, it must have rained. So in your mind, match abandoned equal to rain. Am I correct? You can type and tell, is this logic correct? Whoever is saying this must have rained, because the word must, they are ruling out all other possibilities. So whoever is saying this, in their mind, match abandoned equal to rain. Am I correct to say that is a thought process in their mind? Match abandoned equal to rain in their mind. Yes, a person who says it must have rained has that belief. So the assumption is matches are abandoned only due to rain. That is that person's assumption. Because if the person thought that there could be other reasons, they will not say it must have rained. They will say it probably rained. Okay, they'll say it probably rained. But they said that must have rained. So this is their assumption. Matches are abandoned only due to rain. Now also our job is not to say whether assumptions are right or wrong. Our job is just to identify them in the exam. Okay. So in other words, assumptions are also called hidden premises because they are there but they're not written explicitly. And in simple words, we can say assumptions are things that we believe to be true. Some things that you take for granted, things that you believe to be true are called assumptions. Are you understanding what an assumption is? Is it clear what assumptions are? See, if I can take one more example from this to make it clearer. Which sport am I talking about? We had this entire discussion about a match getting abandoned. Which sport am I talking about here? What do you think? What is your understanding? What do you think? Which sport? You can type and tell me which sport you think I'm talking about. So whatever sport you have written, most of you think I'm talking about cricket. Okay, fine. Did I mention I'm talking about cricket? Some outdoor sport. Okay, whatever you thought. Did I mention anything? I did not mention anything. That is your assumption. So this is another example of assumption. So your assumption is, in your mind, you believe that match equal to cricket. In your mind, you believe match equals cricket. Or those of you who are thinking outdoor sport, match equal to outdoor sport. Or if you thought I'm talking about football, then in your mind, match equal to football. Isn't it? Because you replied it must have rained without checking which sport I'm talking about or anything. So you made an assumption. So in your mind, match equal to cricket. That is your assumption. That when someone talks about a match, then mostly they're talking about cricket. So assumptions are things that we believe to be true. Are you getting some idea what are assumptions, what are conclusions? Hello?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, could you hear me? Sir, for me, a doubt, sir. The conclusion seems to be an assumption for me, and the assumption quote seems to be an conclusion to me, sir.
Okay.
It must have rained seems to be an assumption to me, sir.
Okay. Conclusions are based on assumptions. So I have told you that the match was abandoned. So you have thought something in your mind and you have replied that it must have rained. So this it must have rained. Can we say this is your opinion? This is what you think happened?
Yes, sir. It seems to be like assumption, no, sir. How it can be in conclusion?
So that is called a conclusion. Like whatever you finally arrive at, the final solution that you arrive at, it is known as a conclusion. Now, if you think further, do you have any information to tell you what actually happened? Why the match was abandoned?
No, sir.
I have just told you match was abandoned. So whatever reasons that you believe, you have taken, you have thought of them in your mind. So those form your assumptions. So
both are same, sir. Conclusion and assumption both are same.
No, both are not the same. For you to reply, it must have rained. In your mind, you believe that whenever a match gets abandoned, the reason is rain. Right?
Okay. Yes, sir.
That is an assumption. In your mind, you believe that when a match gets abandoned, it's only because of rain. That's why you reply, it must have rained. So from your statement, it must have rained, I'm able to understand that you believe that rain is the only cause of matches getting abandoned. So that is an assumption.
Okay, sir. The thought I think is an assumption. What I express, that is conclusion.
Yes, what goes on in your mind is an assumption. Based on that, what you express is a conclusion. That is one way of looking at it. And you know, in the exam, we have to identify the author's assumption. Now, instead of saying it must have rained, if you replied, it may have rained. So you're just, tossing out a possibility. It may have rained. So
I want to think the author's assumption and I have to reply it in the form of conclusion.
Can you repeat that?
Sir, I have to read the question in the form of assumption and I have to answer in the form of conclusion.
No, it's not like that. Assumptions are already there in your mind. Like you're not aware of them. Assumptions are hidden premises. So just like you have assumptions, okay, I'll give you a simpler example. Like the second question that I raised, right? Which sport am I talking about? So when I told you match was abandoned, what came to your mind? Which sport?
Cricket, similarly,
cricket.
sir.
Did you consciously think about it? That I have to think about cricket? No, right?
No.
How did you think about cricket? Automatically?
It came strikes into my mind, sir.
It struck your mind? Yeah. So assumptions are things we are not aware of. So why?
Yes.
Because in your experience, you've seen when somebody talks about a match, they're mostly talking about cricket. So you thought I'm talking about cricket. So in your mind, match is equal to cricket.
Yes, sir.
So that is an assumption. Assumptions are things that are true in your mind.
Okay.
May or may not be true. We are not concerned with that. We just have to identify assumptions. So whenever you give some reply or you do something, anything, everything is based on your assumptions. So we have to identify them. So we don't have to consciously think of it. Assumptions are things that are embedded in your mind, or in, if you talk with respect to the passages, assumptions are things that from the writing it can be understood the author believes them to be true,
Okay, 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 sir.
and then
Yeah.
you have to identify them. So
Yeah.
when I say, when you reply it must have rained, in your mind rain is the only cause, so that is the assumption. Based on that assumption you reply that it must have rained. So
Okay, sir.
that's
I
the difference
understand.
between assumption and conclusion. That in text that you have in front of you, the information that is provided, whatever you can infer from that information, that is a conclusion. That information itself is based on assumptions of the author. So in the exam, they will ask you to identify those assumptions.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank
Is
you.
it clear now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So these are assumptions and conclusions, and they are very important. A bulk of your questions will be conclusions and assumptions. Other questions will be primary image. Yes, hidden thoughts are assumptions. Yeah, you can say that. Some matches are abandoned due to bad pitch condition. Yes, of course, but that person who is saying it must have rained, he's not thinking about that. So according to him, matches are not abandoned due to bad pitch conditions. That is his assumption. If he believed that matches are abandoned due to bad pitch condition, he will not make this kind of a statement. Got it? We are trying to identify his assumptions. We are not trying to ascertain what actually happened. Okay? Fine. Great. Okay. So enough of theoretical discussion. Let's go ahead and tones. I will explain in the next session. Please come to the beginning of comprehension. That is passage 1. It is page 194 for me. It's probably page 185 for you. Just check. Is this there on page 185? Class material 1. There's some discrepancy in the handout. Is it there on page 185 for you? Have you found, is this there? Are these passages there? Guys, please type and tell me. Passage is not there? Page 185 or 184 or something? These things are not there? It's there. Can you tell the page number? Can you tell the page number? So can you just type it publicly, the page number? Which page number is it? I think Siddharth found it. Can you just tell the page number? 194. Okay. Then you have the handout with 272 pages. Because for me also it's on 194. Is it 194? So there is some discrepancy. Okay, some of you have got the old handout, some of you have got the new handout. Okay, wait. We'll find a solution to this. I'm creating a link. Whoever doesn't have the 272 page handout, go and take the file from this link. I'm just sharing a link. You can download the file from there. It will be very confusing otherwise. Yeah, that's what. There are many different types of handouts. So I'm posting it. Just use this one. This is the link. Please download it from here. I'll wait for 2 minutes. Everybody can go and download it. Is it opening? You able to download it? Downloaded. Okay. Anyone who's unable to download, I hope everyone got it. If anybody is unable to download, I think you have to click on some cookies and then it will let you download. I'm not sure. If you're not able to download, just send me your email ID. I'll quickly mail it. Try downloading it. If you can't download it, just type in your email ID. I'll create one mail and share it with everyone. Okay, whoever's not able to download, you can tell me your mail ID. I'll quickly send it to you. Okay, that's great. Then anybody else? I got 4 IDs. I'm sending you. If anybody else also wants it, you can tell me now. I have mailed you. Okay, whoever wasn't able to download. So anybody who still doesn't have access to it, I just mailed it. It will come in a minute probably. So open this and come to page number 194. Okay, open it. Come to page 194. Has everyone got it? Okay, so since I did not get any more email IDs or anything, I'm assuming everyone got it. So see this passage 1. Every passage that we do will be done with a timer followed by a detailed discussion. This is passage number 1. Okay, this is the standard length of a CSAT passage, but this I have kept this one as little easy since it's your first one. So just to get you started. But the question types are very important and we'll be discussing them in detail. Passage 1, 5 questions. So when you're solving it, how much time do you think you should devote to it? Passage 1, how much time do you think you should take to solve it? 10 minutes, yeah? Fair enough. Because you have 5 questions, yeah? Seems fair. Ten minutes, okay? Please start solving. 9:55, we have time till 10:05. Start solving. Okay, so 10 minutes are over. I hope everyone is done. You can type your answers in the chat box. Okay, please type your answers in the chat box. Let's discuss these questions. Okay, fine. Okay, most of them are right. Okay, so everybody is making one or two mistakes so far, what I've seen. Okay, fine, great. Let's discuss it now. So see, passage says that the strength of the electronics industry in Japan is the Japanese ability to organize production and marketing rather than their achievements in original research. Okay, so it talks about electronics industry in Japan and how Japan is strong in that, and they're strong because they are good at organizing production and marketing instead of their achievements in original research. The British are generally recognized. So he talks about another country, Britain, and he says that the British are generally recognized as a far more inventive collection of individuals. So the Britishers are better at inventing things, but never seem able to exploit what they invent. So they are not able to exploit means to take advantage. So they're not able to take advantage of their own inventions. And he says there are many examples from the TSR Z hovercraft, high-speed train, and Sinclair scooter to the Triumph BSA and Norton motorcycle, which all prove this sad rule. Okay, so first of all, what is this sad rule? What do you think is this sad rule? It is written right. All prove this sad rule. So what is so sad in this rule? And what is this sad rule? What about others? What do you think? Yes, you are correct. Okay, good. No. Japan's success is not a sad rule. Sad rule is Britishers' inability to exploit what they invent. Yeah, Britishers' inability to exploit what they invent. This is the sad rule. It is written further that the Japanese were able to exploit their strengths in marketing and development many years ago. And their success was at first either not understood in the West or was dismissed as something which could have been produced only at their low price. Okay, so either their success, so Japanese have been able to take advantage of their strength in marketing and development. They've been doing it for many years. Their success was either not understood in the West, or the Westerners thought that it is something that could be done only at their low price. That's what they thought. They were sold because they were cheap copies of other people's ideas, churned out of a workhouse which was dedicated to hard grind above all else. So, the Britishers believed that the Japanese products were sold because they were cheap copies of others' ideas. Churned out means made out of. To churn means to produce. A workhouse which was dedicated to hard grind means hard work above all else. So most importantly, hard work. That's what they believe. Now, okay, any difficult words here? Anything you're not able to understand? Please ask in the passage itself. Any difficult words or anything that you're not able to understand in the passage? Okay. Now come to the questions. Number 1. It is evident from the passage. Evident means it is clear from the passage that the strength of a country's industry depends upon. So if you see the passage, strength is what? Strength is marketing, strength is organizing production, strength is producing things out of a workhouse. That's why they were successful, dedicated to hard grind. So it is definitely not original research. This is what the Britishers were doing, not the Japanese. He's talking about the strength of Japanese in the passage, so cannot be A. B is irrelevant. International cooperation is irrelevant. So when you're solving questions, eliminate options that are irrelevant and that are very extreme. This is an example of an irrelevant option. I'll also give you an example of an extreme option when we come to it. So A is gone, B is gone. C, dedicated workforce. Yes, a workhouse which was dedicated to hard grind. So this was a reason. Electronic development. Now this is a case of a misnomer. It's a similar sounding word. This passage does not talk about any electronic development. Electronic development means development of the electronic. So development of the product. Is it given that the Japanese were very good at developing electronic products? Does the passage say that Japanese were excellent at developing electronic products? Anything about the, electronic development is given? If you read, you will realize that the answer to that is no. The passage does not talk about the development of electronics. That's what electronic development means, development of electronics. The passage talks about the success of the Japanese in the field of electronics because of their marketing, production, marketing and production basically. So not D, answer is C. Many of you went for D, which is not the correct answer. The correct answer is C, a dedicated workforce. Okay, I hope it is clear. I hope you got it. The answer is C, dedicated workforce. If you have any doubts, please get them clarified. Okay, answer is C. Second one, SAD rule mentioned in this passage refers to. First of all, SAD rule is for whom? Is the SAD rule for the Britishers or is it for Japanese? SAD rule is for the Brits, right? The Britishers. Yeah. So it is either B or D. Now, my next question. Do you know the meaning of the word industrious? Do you know the meaning of industrious? Okay, that is correct. What about others? Do you know? I'm not telling. I'll not tell it immediately because we had a question, right? How to solve passages if we don't know a particular word. So suppose you don't know what is the meaning of industrious. What you should do is inability of the British to be industrious like the Japanese. So I will just put a question mark around this. I don't know what this means, so I'll just put a question mark around it. And I'll say D, the poorer marketing ability of the British. Now, is this true? Is it definitely true that the Japanese were better than the Britishers at marketing? Is it so? Yes, that is the case. So D cannot be wrong. Yeah, D is a very strong option. I'll go for D. This is what you do when you are not sure of words. This is B is doubtful because I don't know what's industrious. So I'll go for D. Okay, this is how you solve it. D is the answer. I mean, and anyway, industrious means hardworking. The meaning of industrious is hardworking. So those of you who know, is it true that the Britishers were lazy? Is the passage saying that they were not hardworking? No, right? They're not saying that the Britishers were not hardworking. Just that they were not able to exploit what they invent. So the correct answer will be D. The poorer marketing ability of British. That is the answer for the second question. Now coming to the third question. The TSR-Z hovercraft, high-speed train, Sinclair scooter, etc. etc. means among other things are the symbols of. So question number 1, are these British symbols or are these Japanese symbols? British or Japanese? Type and tell me, what is it, British or Japanese? British, correct. And what? So it's either B or C. It's either B or C. Success or failure? Success or failure? Exactly, British failure. So B, British failure is your answer. Okay? No, it's not success. It's not success. British failure. This word triumph, it's the name of a company, capital T. Proper nouns are written with capitals. So it's the name. It doesn't refer to success. Okay? Whenever you see a word written with capital in the middle of a sentence, it's just a name. So Triumph, PSA, and Norton, these are all motorcycle companies. Symbol of, you can say it's example of. Symbol of means example of. So these are all symbols of British failure. Okay, symbol of means example of or a sign of British failure. So B, third answer is B. Fourth one, according to the passage, prosperity in industry depends upon. So there is no mention of productivity. They talk about production. Okay, again, be careful of similar sounding words. They talk of production. They don't talk of productivity. Productivity is your production per unit. Inventiveness, if you read this passage, you will believe inventiveness is not that important. Marketing ability, yes, definitely given. Official patronage means government support. This author does not really talk about government support over here. So it's not official patronage either. It's C, marketing ability. Okay, answer is C, marketing ability for the fourth question. And fifth one, what did you choose? Main theme of this passage. What did you select for question 5? Everybody got C? Okay, good. I'll explain it. So read your passage and see what they're primarily concerned with. Is this passage talking about the electronic industry in Japan? The answer to that is no. Because if that was true, they will not talk about Britishers. So A is wrong. B says industrial comparison between Japan and Britain. A passage that compares the industries of Japan and Britain will talk about the various industries of Japan and Britain. It will not take the electronic sector and highlight why Japan is good at it and why Britishers are not good at it. So not B. C, the role of marketing efficiency in industrial prosperity. Yes, this instance of the Japanese being good in the electronics industry is taken as an example of that. So C is correct. D, the importance of original research in industry. If I read this passage, I will be led to believe the opposite. I will believe that original research is not important in industry. So it cannot be D. The correct answer is C. Okay, this is not an industrial comparison, means they will compare the industries of Japan and Britain. So that's not the case here. They're explaining how marketing is important to become prosperous. So C, using Japan as an example. I hope it's clear to everyone. And C is your answer. Okay, question 5, C is your answer. Were you able to solve it within 10 minutes? Did you solve it? Okay, fine. Now you see this And do you have any doubts? Please ask me if you have any doubts. It's very important. We'll be doing many passages. Don't keep any doubts for later. Please keep getting them resolved as soon as you get a doubt. Symbol of means example of. Example of. Okay? Example of. Any other doubt? No other doubt? Okay, fine. Now see, passage 2 is a little lengthy and there are 5 questions. So you can take 10 minutes and I will also give you 2 or 3 minutes of extra time. Okay? Somebody raised the hand. Hello?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, in second question, in the second option, you have said that industrious is the meaning of hardworking, but the industrious also the meaning to be given for marketing and the production also, no, sir. Then the second option can also be the right, no, sir.
No, industries doesn't mean that. Industries means hardworking. It has only one meaning.
We
The
should
word
not
industries
compare
means
the industries to the industry, sir.
no, it doesn't mean that. Industries means hardworking.
Okay, okay, sir.
That is industrial. This is
Okay.
industrious. Industrious means hardworking. Okay. Okay. Any other doubts? Okay, then if you don't know the meaning, then see whether any other option makes sense. In this case, I'm not sure of B because of industrious. Okay, fine. Let's assume I don't know what's industrious. A and C are definitely wrong. C is definitely right. D is definitely right. D cannot be wrong. So then option B becomes irrelevant because there's nothing. D is clearly given. So answer must be D. So you can leave B and go to D. Okay. Now I'm starting. Now how is it 50-50? You've eliminated 2 options and you have selected 1 option based on you've eliminated 3 and selected 1. So you will be right 3 out of 4 times on average. It's 50-50 if it's a pure guess. You've analyzed it and then selected. So it's not really 50-50. Because you've analyzed D, it can't be wrong. And B, you're not very sure. So you leave it. It will depend from option to option. But mostly you will be right. Sometimes you'll also go wrong, but mostly you'll be right. Okay, now passage 2. You have 10 minutes and maybe a couple of minutes of extra time. Please solve passage 2. Okay, please solve passage 2. And you see that you're able to solve it in time, so that will give you confidence regarding your time management as well. Please start. Okay, fine. I hope everybody has finished by now. Okay, received some answers also. Partially correct. Okay, let's go ahead and discuss this passage. How was it? Did you find it easy or was it quite difficult? What's your opinion? Tough? Is it because of the wording or is it because it was long? Found it tough because of the way it's lengthy? Okay, fine. Initially, we'll do some like this to build your foundations, then we'll switch over to the short passages. Words are jumbled. Okay, fine. Fine. Okay, let's discuss this questions and answers all. Passage says much has been said and written. Options seem to be similar. Okay, fine. Got it. Now let's resolve all your doubts. Much has been said and written about what FDI, foreign direct investment, in retail can do. So a lot has been written about this. Depending on which side of the ideological divide is speaking, the assertions are either, so there is an ideological divide. An ideology is a set of beliefs. So some people believe that, or FDI is good, and some people are against it. That's what this ideological divide means. So depending on which side of the ideological divide is speaking, the assertions are either that it is a magic wand to fix many big problems, or that it is the destroyer of honest livelihoods with little benefits of its own. So with hardly any benefits of its own. He says what is common to both sides is that they are mostly low on fact, high on opinion, and generate enormous amounts of confusion. So that is common to both. Those who are pro FDI, those who are anti FDI, both are low on fact, so they don't know what they're talking about. Both are very opinionated, and both create a lot of confusion. Which is why, so because of this, I think it is necessary to sift through all of the noise. To sift through means to go through all of the noise, all of the misinformation, and look truth in the eye. He says the facts as I see it tell us that it has become a symbolic issue, far beyond what reality demands it ought to be. So it's become more of a symbolic issue, more than what is required, far beyond what reality demands it ought to be. And that there is no need for either great celebration or for deep despair over the idea that FDI in retail is now a reality. So there is no need to celebrate it much, nor is there any need to despair over it, that it has become a reality. Then he says, my analysis tells a fairly straightforward story. So the author will tell a straightforward story. The government, he says, has hugely exaggerated the quantum and immediacy of benefits it put on the table to sell the policies. So there has been a huge exaggeration. Quantum means an amount, the number of benefits, and immediacy is how soon we will get the benefit. So both have been hugely exaggerated to sell the policy, which means to convince people that it's a good policy. And see, whenever you see this hyphen, the next part will explain the previous part. So what are these exaggerations? That common man will benefit enormously. Employment generation will be huge. The country's supply chain will be transformed. And large numbers of small producers and farmers will gain. So this is the exaggeration. This is what the government has exaggerated. As things stand, which means currently, even if modern retail were to take off on all cylinders, these arguments would still not hold water for the next 10 years. So these arguments will still not be valid for the next 10 years, even if the growth is very rapid. That's what it means to take off on all cylinders. So we can see that the author is not in agreement with the government. And when you're reading, please underline, mark these things. Now you are using a PDF, so you can use a highlighter. Okay, use a tool like I use Adobe. You can use any PDF viewer or any software that has a highlighter. Are you using a highlighter when you're reading this, or you're not using a highlighter? Okay, get into the habit of that. Use a highlighter, and when you solve it on paper, underline. Okay, great. For one, there is the fact that aside from very old markets like America and Europe, in most newly developed markets, modern trade accounts for only 20 to 25% of all retail. So he's saying if we leave aside America and Europe, which are very old markets, in other mostly newly developed markets, modern trade is only 20 to 25% of total retail. He says India is already at 8%, which is significant, so which is quite a lot. But the impact hasn't been as dramatic as one would have assumed. It's not had as big an impact as people thought it would have. So the first point has been refuted. Then there is the fact that the economics of the Indian market is such that it makes little sense for global retailers to focus on all consumers. So he says that Indian market is such, it doesn't make much sense for them, these global retailers, to focus on all consumers. He says, I am convinced they will focus their energies on the top 33% of urban Indian households, a mere 10% of all Indian households. So they will focus their energies on the top 33% of India, which is equal to just 10% of all the Indian households. Investing in the others isn't quite what they know how to do profitably yet. So they don't know how to invest in the others in a profitable way. As for small manufacturers, I don't see that huge numbers of them will benefit. So what the author is doing is, one by one, he's taking all the points made by the government, and he's arguing and he's refuting them. Okay. Sorry. Retailers across the world like to work with a small group of select vendors because it makes for better profitability. So he says, so yes, a small number will benefit significantly. Okay, so there will be a quite a lot of benefit, and yes, employment will be generated. So that this is also true, but it won't be anywhere close to the numbers now being touted. It's not going to be as much as people think. Not be as much as people think it is going to be. Then there is the argument that encouraging modern retail to invest will provide the much needed booster shot for the country's dismal supply chain infrastructure. Okay, so this is the next point put forward by the government, that it will improve our supply chain. Here again, let's face it. So he's saying here again, let's face it means let's see the reality. Retailers aren't in the business of building national infrastructure. About the only infrastructure they'd be interested in is their last mile. Last mile is your final distribution, the last part of your distribution channel. Touted means promoted. Okay, to tout means to promote. So again, he's saying that retailers will not build national infrastructure for you. He says the only argument that holds true is that kiranas, or the small traditional shopkeepers who are now an Indian staple, will not die. So they will not die. But that is a tribute to the small shopkeeper rather than prescience on the part of the government. So the credit for that also goes to the shopkeeper. Prescience is the ability to predict things. So it's not based on any predictive parts of the government. It's because of the shopkeepers themselves. So if you see throughout this passage, he has taken the points that have been made by the government and argued against them one by one. Now there are 5 questions. before we go to the questions, do you have any doubts with the understanding of the passage? Please ask me if there is any doubt with understanding the passage. Cylinder and water are interlinked. These are figures of speech. Don't take the literal meaning. It's a phrase. To take off on all cylinders means to grow at the fastest possible rate. That's what it means. And not hold water means not be valid. They will still not hold water means they will still not be true. They will not be strong arguments. They will not be strong. Okay, so these are figures of speech. Don't take the literal meaning. Got it? And someone has asked the last sentence. Yeah, so that is the tribute to the small shopkeeper, which means that the kiranas or the traditional shopkeepers will survive. It's the credit goes to the shopkeeper rather than prescience on the part of the government. And it's not any great, it's not because of any preventive measures taken by the government. So he says that the fact that the small shopkeepers will survive, even for that, the credit does not go to the government. The credit goes to the small shopkeepers themselves. That's what it means. I hope it's clear. Okay. Now see the question. Number 1. According to the author, which of the following is not a common attribute? See this, not a common attribute of the arguments put forth by the pro and anti-FDI ideologues. An ideologue is a person who believes in an ideology. So what is not a common attribute of the arguments? If you see over here, what are the common attributes? Common is that they are low on fact, high on opinion, and generate a lot of confusion. These are the common things. So everything else is uncommon. So both are likely to be false. That's common. So I can't select that because both are low on fact, right? So low on fact means likely to be false. Second, both are judgmental. Both are judgmental. That is also common because high on opinion. So 1 and 2 cannot be selected. Third, positive about FDI in retail. These are only the pro FDI people. And fourth, strongly opposed to FDI in retail. These are only the anti-FDI people. So this is 3 and 4 are not common. Okay. So answer is C. First answer is C. 3 and 4 only. C. 3 and 4 are not common. Positive is only pro FDI and opposed to is only anti-FDI. So 3 and 4, these two are not common. C. First answer is C. Okay. Second one, with which of the following about the benefits of FDI in retail would the author agree? So author will agree with anything that he has justified. Basically, he does not believe what the government is saying. So he will agree with anything that is against that. Number 1, common man may not benefit greatly. You did not. Okay, 1 minute. Wait. Statement 1 likely to be false. You can comment and tell me. Is this common or uncommon? Is this common or not common? Are both likely to be false? Statement 1. Quickly, you can type and tell me. Common, yeah? Because both are low on fact. Yeah, let's discuss the first question. Both are likely to be false. So common. What am I looking for? Which of the following is not a common attribute? So eliminate 1. Okay, eliminate 1. Both are likely to be false. That is common. Second, judgmental. Are both likely to be judgmental? So judgmental is a common or not common attribute? Both are likely to be judgmental. So judgmental. Common or not common? What do you think? Judgmental. Guys, you can type and tell me, because few of you are having doubt with this, so just comment and get it clarified. Common. Both are judgmental because high on opinion. Both are high on opinion. Low. See the beginning of the passage here. Look here. What is common to both sides? Low on fact, high on opinion. Yeah. So likely to be false, judgmental. So common. So eliminate 1 and 2. 3. Positive about FDI in retail. Are both of these people pro and anti FDI ideologues? Positive about FDI in retail? The answer is no. Only the ones who are in support are positive. 4th, strongly opposed to FDI in retail. Again, this is not common. This is only the people who are against FDI. This is only the people who are pro FDI. This is only the people who are against FDI. So 3 and 4 are not common. Hence, C is your answer. Okay, 3 and 4 are not common. Hence, your answer is C. Is it clear now? Okay. Second question. Which of the following about the benefits of FDI in retail would the author agree? Number 1, common man may not benefit greatly. So, agree or disagree? Author will agree or disagree? Common man may not benefit greatly. He will agree. Yeah, agree. Second, employment generation may not be that huge. This is also agree. This is also agree, because he doesn't believe it will be very huge. Third, small farmers and small producers shall be benefited greatly. Disagree. The author will disagree. He doesn't believe they will be benefited greatly. He believes some will benefit, but he doesn't believe they'll be benefited greatly. Para 2. This is what the government has said. The government has hugely exaggerated. The author believes it's all exaggerated. So all these things are the things mentioned by the government, and the author does not agree with them. Okay, so it's the opposite. Fine. So 1 and 2 only. Second answer is A. Okay, second answer is A. 1 and 2 only. Then the third one, which of the following inferences cannot be drawn from the passage? Okay, note the word cannot. Cannot be drawn. Option A, India's market is not economically completely viable for global retailers. This can be drawn. He does believe that this is true. Okay, he does believe that this is true. He's saying that they'll only focus on the top 33% of urban India. Option B, global retailers will not benefit anyone in India. This is wrong. He believes some people will get benefited. So inferences cannot be drawn. B is your answer. B is your answer. C, global retailers are selfish in general. Yes, he does believe that, because he's saying They'll only serve areas that are profitable, and they will focus on building their own last mile, not the national supply chain infrastructure. So C is correct. And D, profit is the primary motive of global retailers. Yes, he does believe that as well, because he's saying they can't function in areas where they can't make a profit. So A, C, and D are valid inferences. B cannot be inferred. So third answer is B. Okay, third answer is B. That global retailers will not benefit anyone in India. This inference cannot be drawn. Then fourth one, the author would not agree with which of the following? Option A, small traditional shopkeepers in India will not be adversely affected. He will agree. Sorry. Because it is given that they will survive. They will not die, they will survive. So he'll agree with this. B, rural households would be completely ignored by global retailers. He will agree with this also, because it is said they will focus on 33% of urban India. They are not going to focus on rural India. Option C, global retailers would focus only on all the urban households. He will disagree with this, because they will not focus on all the urban households, only on the top 33%. So D, C is the answer. Fourth answer is C. And option D, only a few of the small manufacturers in India will benefit from FDI in retail. He will agree with this as well. So D also agree. C is the one he will disagree with. He will disagree with C. In the last one, the author says, my analysis tells a fairly straightforward story. So which of the following is the best description of the straightforward story? What did you choose for this, for the fifth one? What is the general consensus? What should be the answer? See, remember I told you eliminate extreme options. Eliminate C and D. It can't be C. He is not completely against FDI and retail. It can't be D. He is not completely positive about it either. It is A. While it acknowledges the few benefits, it is mostly against FDI in retail, because he highlights all the drawbacks. It is not B. He is not neutral. Neutral means neither positive nor negative. But he is highlighting all the negatives. So it is A. Okay, fifth correct answer is A. Okay, is everybody clear? Any doubts with this? Any doubt with any question? No doubts? Please ask me if you have any doubts. No doubts. Okay. Fine. So it is break time. We'll take a short 15 minutes break. Come back by 11:15, 11:20. Okay, go have your break. 15 minutes is enough. Enough? Okay, fine. Okay. Please go ahead. Take a break and come back. We'll do assumptions exercises once you're back. Question 1 here. See, you have to choose the ones that are not common. He said mostly low on fact. Low on fact means they don't know what they're talking about. So likely to be false. High on opinion means means judgmental. So 1 and 2 are not, you have to choose the ones that are not common. So both are common, and both are not against FDI and both are not for FDI. So 3 and 4 are not common. Okay, you ask me at the end of the class. You can raise your hand and you can ask me. I'll resolve it. For now, you go for your break and come back. At the end of the session, you ask me. Okay. Okay, I hope everybody is back from the break. Let's start. I am resharing my screen. Okay. Fine, guys. So now, are you back? You can just say hi in the chat box so I'll know that everyone's back. Is everyone back from the break? Okay, fine. What about the other students? Are you back? Okay, perfect. Good, good. Let's begin. Okay, now see, what we are going to do today is we will do an assumptions exercise. The purpose of this exercise, so see, these kind of questions will appear in reasoning. In comprehension, questions will be based on this. Okay, you will be asked direct assumption based questions, but from a reading passage. So I have put 20 questions here. The purpose of these 20 questions is to familiarize you with the concept of assumptions. Okay, as we have discussed, these assumptions are things that the author believes to be true, or in other words, the author takes for granted. So we will use these questions to understand how these work, to understand how assumptions work. So if you see the directions, it is given, a statement is given followed by several assumptions. Okay, and an assumption is something assumed or taken for granted. Something that people believe to be true is an assumption. So what we have to do is read the statement carefully and decide which of the assumptions are implicit in the statement. So which of the assumptions are implied. Number one, if he does not mend his ways, I will call the police. That's a statement made by somebody. If he does not mend his ways, I will call the police. Assumptions of the person making the statement. Number one, he may mend his ways. So is that a valid assumption? Does the person believe that he may mend his ways, whoever is being spoken about? Is that a valid assumption? He may mend his ways. If he does not mend his ways, then I will call the police. So yes, because if he believed that he may not, that he will not mend his ways, then there is no point in giving a warning. Then he will directly call the police. But he is not directly calling the police. He is saying, if he does not mend his ways, then I will call the police. So yes, he believes that he may mend his ways. One is a valid assumption. Second one, police may help me. Do you think this person believes police may help? Police may help me. Yes, that's why he's threatening to call the police. That's why he's threatening to call the police. Because he believes that the police may help him. Because if he believes that the police is not going to help, then there's no point in calling them. So second is also valid. Third one, he has been making hoax calls to me. He has been making hoax calls to me. Is there any context? Can we say whether he believes that the other person is making hoax calls? So if you see, we don't know. Or rather, there's no way of knowing what he believes. There is no way of finding out what he believes regarding hoax calls. So no. So answer will be A, 1 and 2. Okay. Answer will be A, 1 and 2. I hope it's clear. Are you able to understand? Any doubts with this? Like, you got the point? Okay. See the second one. Do not touch stray objects. They may be bombs. This is a notice given by the city police. So what are they assuming? We can leave the third one because there is no context. We are not really trying to find conclusions here. We are not selecting it because based on the information, we don't know whether the author believes that he is making hoax calls. That is the reason. That's the reason we are leaving it. Because based on the information, we don't know what he believes with respect to hoax calls. So in assumptions, we are not trying to find things that can be concluded. In assumptions, we are trying to basically we are trying to understand the mindset of the author. Hoax call is a fraudulent call, a fraud call. Fraudulent call is a hoax call. Hoax is the fraud. So what we are trying to do in assumptions is basically we are trying to understand the mindset of the author. That's what we are trying to do. Okay. So yeah, so assumption one, stray objects are harmless. Do you think this person believes that stray objects are harmless? The police believes stray objects are harmless. Harmless or harmful? What do they think? They think stray objects are harmless or harmful? Maybe harmful, right? So the first assumption is not valid. First assumption is not valid. They don't think that stray objects are harmless. Second one, stray objects may be touched by people. Stray objects may be touched by people. Do they believe? Do they think so? Yes. They're saying, right, do not touch stray objects. So they're warning you, don't touch stray objects. So in their mind, they believe stray objects may be touched by people. People may go and touch them. So they're saying, do not touch them. Do not touch stray objects. Third one, people will take notice of the warning. Do they believe people will take notice of the warning? What do you think? What do you think and why? They have given a notice. Do you think they believe that people will take notice? Answer is yes. They believe that people will take notice of the warning. Exactly, because it was given in the first place. The very fact that they have issued a notice means they believe people will see it. Because if they believe people will not see it, there is no point in giving it. See, if people believe like that, no, we can't think like that. Because we are not trying to identify the people's assumptions. We are trying to identify the police's assumptions. Getting it? It's a good point you brought up. People may think stray objects are harmless, so notice is sent out. So we are not trying to identify the people's assumption. We are trying to identify police's assumption. A valid assumption would have been, if I had written people may think stray objects are harmless, then it is a valid assumption. Yeah, so people might think stray objects are harmless. That is a valid assumption. Not one. One says stray objects are harmless. So that is the police's assumption. So no, this is not correct. Okay. If an option was given, people might think stray objects are harmless, that will be a valid assumption. Getting it? Here we are not trying to identify people's assumption. We are trying to identify police assumption. So, okay, perfect. Good. So 2 and 3 are valid assumptions. Your answer will be C, 2 and 3. Are you understanding how to do these questions? Some clarity is there? Okay, I have divided these questions into easy and difficult. First 10 questions are relatively easy. I'd like you to try these questions. Then 11 to 20 are a little difficult. So we'll do them after discussing the first 10. So I will give you some time. You have to solve questions 3 to 10. There are 8 questions, right? I'll give you 15 minutes to solve. You may end up solving it within before that also, but you have 15 minutes. You have to solve question number 3 to 10. Okay? Question 3 till question 10. You have to solve. You have 15 minutes. Okay? Please solve 3 to 10. These are the easy to moderate difficulty ones. Then we'll do the slightly tougher ones. Please solve this. Okay, I think you have finished it. Is anybody still doing it? 14 minutes are done. I mean, almost 15 minutes are done. Is anyone still doing it? Okay, I guess all are done. So we can discuss these questions now. Now, okay, if you see this question number 3, I think that she has gone mad. Last night I saw her barking like a dog. A tells B about Madhu. So A is telling B about some other person. What are the assumptions made by A? Number 1, Madhu is a friend of A. Do you think A believes that Madhu is his friend? Do you think A believes Madhu is his friend? Actually, there is no context. We don't know what A believes about Madhu. Madhu could be anyone, could be his friend or relative or neighbor or colleague, you know, teacher, student, could be anybody. There's no context given. We don't know what A believes about his relationship with Madhu. So one is not a correct assumption. Second one, B knows Madhu. Do you think A believes that B knows Madhu? A thinks that B knows Madhu. Okay, fine. What is the reason? Uh, that is not the reason. That is not the reason. The reason is in this. The reason is here. If you see this, has he mentioned Madhu's name anywhere? I mean, you can still talk about people you don't know. Has he mentioned Madhu's name anywhere? He says, I think that she has gone mad. Last night I saw her barking like a dog. So when do we talk without taking names? When we assume that the other person knows who we are talking about. Yeah. When we talk without taking other person's name, in what situations do we do that? We do that when we believe that the other person knows who we are talking about. If I come and tell you, he came first in the class. So if I just tell you he came first in the class, it means I believe you know who I'm talking about. So A believes that B knows Madhu. That's why he's not taken a name. So that is the reason. Even though you chose you thought that B, so second assumption is a valid one, that is correct. But for this reason, is the reason clear now that why B is correct? It's correct because of this. We know that A believes that B knows Madhu because he doesn't take her name. Yeah? Okay. Third one, some people do not bark like dogs. Some people do not bark like dogs. So does A think so that some people do not bark like dogs? Or does A believe that everyone barks like a dog? What does A believe? Yes, even if he mentions the name, not necessary to be friend. I'm not talking about assumption 1, I'm talking about assumption 2. The reason why assumption 2 is valid is because he hasn't taken Madhu's name anywhere. Which means that A believes that B knows Madhu. That friend is a separate assumption. That is assumption 1. That we can't say because we don't know what A believes about his relationship with Madhu. So, yeah. And then third one, some people do not bark like dogs. Not everyone, because he has seen Madhu. So, well, okay. Think of it in this way. Does A find this behavior surprising or normal? According to A, this behavior is surprising or normal? Surprising. He's surprised at this behavior. He says, I think she's gone mad. Last night I saw her barking like a dog. If he thought this is normal behavior, he will not say, I think she has gone mad. Said she has gone mad. So he does believe that some people do not bark like dogs because he finds this behavior to be surprising. So he does believe that some people do not behave in this manner. So 2 and 3 are valid assumptions. Correct answer is B. Okay, correct answer is B. 2 and 3 are valid assumptions. Okay, see, so doubt that it should be all people do not bark like dogs. No, if that was an assumption, maybe we can consider it. But this assumption is correct. Some people do not bark like dogs. Some is not a defined quantity. So he basically he believes that people exist who don't bark like dogs. That's why he finds his behavior to be surprising. If he believed that people can't bark like dogs, then he will not say I saw her barking like a dog, because she is also a person. So he believes that people exist who do not bark like dogs. So this is a valid assumption. If an assumption was given that all people do not bark like dogs based on this, then that is not correct, because he's saying okay fine, she's barking like a dog, it means she has gone mad. If it was given all people do not bark like dogs, then he will say she was barking like a dog, but people don't bark like dogs, so she's not a person. So that will take a different trajectory. He just finds his behavior to be highly unusual. That's all. So we can't add things from our side. And you have asked Madhu may be a friend of A. See, we are not trying to say, we are not trying to predict what is true and what is false, what is actually the case. We are trying to identify A's assumptions, what A believes to be true. If he mentioned her name, then B would be wrong. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Madhu may be a friend of A. It's irrelevant. We are trying to identify A's assumptions. Just like in the example that I gave you, I said your assumption is that I'm talking about cricket. Or rather, your assumption is when somebody talks about a match, he's talking about cricket. Now, I can say, but I may be talking about football. That is irrelevant. We are not trying to figure out what actually happened there. We are just trying to figure out the assumptions made by A. That's all. So whether Madhu is a friend of A or a neighbor, it is irrelevant. We are not concerned with that. We are just identifying A's assumptions. And yes, if he had mentioned her name, then B will not be a valid assumption. Because we don't know what A believes, whether B knows Madhu or not. Okay. Any other doubt? Any other doubt with question 3? Okay. Then question 4. The prices should fall after May. By that time, the demand of food grains starts dropping. This is a prediction made by an economist that the prices should fall after May. By that time, the demand of food grains starts dropping. So assumption number 1, prices will not fall before May. Prices will not fall before May. Yes, it is a valid assumption. It is a valid assumption. Because he has said prices should fall after May. So he believes they will not fall before May. So the first assumption is valid. Second one, the economist is in link with the farmers of the country. There is no context here. I don't know what he believes. I don't know whether he believes he is in link with farmers of the country. So not valid. Third one, a drop in demand of food grains will result in a drop in supply of food grains. We don't know any link between demand and supply. All we know is that a drop in demand of food grains will result in a drop in price of food grains. If instead of supply, they had written price, that would have been a valid assumption. But supply, we don't really know. So just the first one, the first assumption is valid. Only one. Okay, first assumption is valid. Any doubts with this? Question number 4, any doubts, please ask. If you have any doubts with question number 4. No doubts? Okay. Okay, please don't hesitate to ask doubts. Type in the chat box or raise your hand. Either way is fine. But get your doubts clarified. I'll explain it repeatedly, but ask your doubts. Then the 5th one, I do not like to give consumer goods as a wedding gift. I prefer to give cash. Now, this has been told by A to B. A tells B. So, assumption number 1, assumption of A. A is invited at weddings. Now, see, he's talking about giving wedding gifts. That I do not like to give consumer goods as a wedding gift. I prefer to give cash. So, he believes he is invited at weddings. That's why he's talking about giving a wedding gift. So, first assumption is valid. Second assumption, some people give consumer goods as wedding gifts. That is also valid because he says, I do not like to give consumer goods. So he believes that there are people out there who do, who give consumer goods as wedding gifts. And the third one, some people give useless things as wedding gifts. This is an extreme statement, not supported by the passage. There is no indication anywhere that some people give useless things as wedding gifts. So only the first two, 1 and 2, are valid assumptions. Okay, 1 and 2 are valid assumptions. A is invited at weddings and some people give consumer goods as wedding gifts. Option A. Any doubts till now? Doubts, please. No doubts. Okay, don't hesitate to ask your doubts. Feel free to go ahead and ask. Inviting and goods, how is it interlinked? Are you talking about interlinking between assumption 1 and assumption 2, or are you talking about the statement and assumption 1? Like, are you trying to interlink statement and assumption 1? He has said, I do not like to give consumer goods as a wedding gift. Okay, so he doesn't like to give consumer goods as a wedding gift. I prefer to give cash. So instead of giving consumer goods, he likes to give cash. So he's talking about giving a wedding gift. And in the present tense, I do not like. So, currently. So what does he believe? He believes he's invited at weddings. That's why he's talking about giving wedding gifts. So because of that, he's giving his preference of gift. That instead of giving consumer goods, I like to give cash, which means I do give. So I believe that I am invited at weddings. So that is the reason assumption 1 is valid. Got it? Situation is not considered beyond gifts. Your gift is for the purpose of wedding. See this, wedding gift. Wedding gift. I do not like to give consumer goods as a wedding gift. So he's talking about giving wedding gifts. The situation is not beyond gifts. It's about the gifts only. What gift are we talking about here? Wedding gift. I prefer to give cash. I prefer to give cash where? As a wedding gift. So does he believe, first of all, that he is invited at weddings? Yes. Because he's talking about giving a wedding gift. In the present tense, that he is doing this. He is not saying, I would not give consumer goods. I would give cash. That is a hypothetical situation. In that case, he is not sure whether he is going. But he is not talking about any hypothetical situation. He's talking in the present tense. I do not like to give consumer goods. I prefer giving cash. So he's doing this. So he believes he's invited at weddings. So because of that, assumption 1 is valid. I hope I'm getting your doubt clearly. Is this what you were asking? Okay. And is it clear? Got it? Okay. Fine. Sixth one, Prime Minister is expected to announce an expansion in his ministry shortly. A newspaper report has said. So what are the assumptions? Number one, the newspaper has quoted authentic sources. Now you are a newspaper, you are publishing something. Do you believe you have an authentic source or not? He said they have published the report. The fact that they have published it means they believe they have quoted authentic sources. Authentic means original, reliable, trustworthy, authentic. Because of the same reason, second assumption is also valid. The newspaper has reliable sources for the news. Okay, the newspaper believes, so they have published this story, so they believe that they have reliable sources for the news. Third one, Prime Minister has the power to expand his cabinet. Yes, because that's what they have said, that the Prime Minister is expected to announce an expansion. So he will announce an expansion only if he has the power to do it. So yes, the newspaper also believes that the Prime Minister has the power to expand his cabinet. So 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3 all are valid. Okay. D, all of them are valid. Is everybody clear with this? All of them are valid. Does the newspaper believe that it has quoted authentic sources? Yes, the newspaper believes it has quoted authentic sources because it has published the report. Same logic as the police notice. Does the police believe that people will take notice of the warning? Yes. Why am I saying yes? Because they published the notice. Otherwise, they will not publish the notice. Using the same logic, does the newspaper believe that it has the newspaper quoted authentic sources? Yes. Otherwise, they will not publish it. So assumption number 1, newspaper has quoted authentic sources. Whose assumption? The newspaper's assumption. So yes, they do believe that. Otherwise, they will not publish it. Same logic. Got it? Cabinet is not mentioned. Oh yeah. It's a synonym. Ministry and cabinet, same thing. Synonyms. Similar words with similar meanings. So yeah, we can connect that. Okay, is it clear? Pradeep, is it clear? Your doubt that authentic sources? Okay, fine. Well, so all of them again, D is the answer, all of them. Then question number 7, you cannot solve such questions without consulting a diagram. Difficult questions need diagrams for solving. Now a teacher tells this to his students. So what are the assumptions made by the teacher? Number 1, students are not intelligent. If you see over here, he is not questioning the intelligence of the students. So 1 is wrong. He's just saying that if you want to solve difficult questions, you need diagrams. Second one is also wrong. He's not saying the problems cannot be solved. He's saying you can do it with the help of a diagram. Third one, such questions are difficult. Yes, because he's saying you cannot solve such questions without consulting a diagram. So you need a diagram. And difficult questions need a diagram. So he believes that such questions are difficult questions. So yes, only 3. D is correct. Only 3. Okay, only 3 is correct. Then, okay, before we move on, doubts please. Any doubts with this? Okay, fine. Then 8th one, you should not. Second statement won't come because it's not true, right? The problems cannot be solved. But second statement is saying it cannot be solved. If it is difficult, does it mean it cannot be solved? No. He's saying you cannot solve such questions without consulting a diagram. So, which means if you use a diagram, you can solve them. So then 2 is wrong. He's saying it's difficult. He's not saying it's impossible. Got it? The second statement is wrong. Okay. 8th question. You should not drink whiskey. You must take care of your health. A tells his friend. Assumptions of A. Number 1. A knows about the ill effects of whiskey. Yes, he believes that he does know because he's telling his friend not to have it. He's telling his friend not to have it. So he does believe that he knows about the ill effects of whiskey. So 1 is a valid assumption. Second one, whiskey is intoxicating. Now we have no way of knowing whether A believes that whiskey is intoxicating. So wrong. Third one, whiskey is not good for health. Yes, he believes that because he's telling his friend don't drink whiskey because you should take care of your health. So he believes that it's bad for health. So 1 and 3. Option D is the answer. For question number 8, it's D. 1 and 3. Is it clear? It's 1 and 3. Okay. 1 and 3. The 9th one, it is similar to the 8th one. I have decided to cut down on coffee. People tell me that caffeine is not good for health. It is very similar. I have decided to cut down on coffee. Why? Because people tell me that caffeine is not good for health. A tells B. Assumption made by A. Coffee contains caffeine. Yes. People have told him caffeine is not good for health. So he has reduced his coffee consumption. So in his mind, he believes that coffee contains caffeine. So first assumption is valid. Second assumption, people are correct in their views about coffee. So ask yourself, Is he listening to people or is he ignoring people? So you see that he is actually listening to people. So yes, he does believe that people are correct, because if he believed they were wrong, he will not listen to them. But he is listening to them. So he believes people are correct. So correct. Third one, B may also cut down on coffee. Now, do we have any idea of knowing whether A is just telling B or whether he is telling with the intention of influencing him? Can we say what he believes with this, with respect to this? We don't know, right? Both possibilities are there. He may be telling him to influence him. He may just be telling him as a friend. We don't know what he's thinking in this regard. So we can't say. So 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Answer will be A. 1 and 2. People are telling about caffeine, and caffeine is present in coffee and others as well. This others as well is irrelevant. We are not, see again, we are not trying to say what is right and what is wrong. All we are trying to do is identify A's assumptions. So again, same thing. See, you have misinterpreted the intent of the question. The purpose of solving assumption-based questions is not to predict the future. Yes, of course, caffeine is present in other things as well, and B may still cut down. Both the things are correct. That is not the point of the question. What we are trying to do is, we are trying to identify A's assumptions. That's all. We are trying to figure out what A believes to be true. Now, okay, first, Aishwarya, first your doubt. People have told him caffeine is not good for health. So what has he done? He has reduced coffee consumption. Exactly. People are talking about caffeine and not coffee. That is exactly why assumption 1 is correct. So when people tell him that caffeine is not good for health, what does he do? He goes and reduces coffee consumption. So in his mind, what does he believe? He believes that coffee contains caffeine. Correct? In his mind, he believes coffee contains caffeine. Yeah? And people are correct in their views about coffee. In his mind, coffee is a carrier of caffeine. So in his mind, are people correct or are people incorrect? How do we find that out? Well, see what he's doing. Is he listening to people or is he ignoring them? We see that he's listening to them. Whatever people have told him, yeah, that's correct. In the question, it's written people about caffeine and the option says about coffee, which is fine because in his mind, coffee equal to caffeine in the mind of A. So is he listening to people or is he ignoring them? What do you think? Read the question. Is he listening to people? Listening. Yeah. So he believes they're correct. That's why he's listening to them. If he believes they're wrong, he will not listen to them. That's the reason 1 and 2 are correct. And Charan, you've asked, B may cut down on coffee. Yeah, of course. See, again, same thing. We are just trying to identify A's assumptions. What B does or does not do is not our concern. Got the intent of the question? We are not trying to predict whether B will actually cut down or not. Of course, he may. Right? He may not. We are not concerned. We are trying to figure out what A believes. Can you say that A is telling B with the intention of influencing him? Can we say that? We can't say that, right? That's all we are concerned about. We are not concerned with what, yeah, exactly. We are not concerned with what B goes and actually does. We are just trying to identify A's assumptions. Okay. Then see the 10th one. We buy used imported items. Contact us at the earliest. This is an advertisement. So what are the assumptions made by the advertiser? Number 1, used imported items may not be useless. This is true because they want to buy these items. So they will put it to some use, whatever, use it, sell it further, convert it into scrap, whatever it may be, we don't care. But an advertisement has been given that these people want to purchase used imported items. So yes, they believe that used imported items may not be useless. Correct. Second one, there are people who are willing to sell used imported items. So yes, Contact us at the earliest. These are those people. The ad believes that there are people. That's the target audience. Contact us at the earliest. Third one, the advertisement will be read by people who may sell such items. Again, yes. Again, yes. That's why they've given the ad. Otherwise, they won't give the ad. So all of them. D. 10th is D. All of them. So that's your first 10. Are you clear with this? First 10 questions. Everyone's clear? Okay, perfect. Now we'll increase the difficulty level. And I don't think you need 2 minutes per question because last time you did it well in advance. Let's take 15 minutes and finish the next 10 questions. Questions 11 to 20, take 15 minutes and finish them. Second statement is assumed right. Because see here, contact us at the earliest. So these are the people who will sell. So they believe that people exist who will sell. Those are the people whom they want to contact. So that's why. Again, we are not assuming. These are the assumptions made by the advertiser. So the advertiser believes that there are people who are willing to sell. Yeah, it is D. 10th question is D. It is D. Somebody asked, answer for second question. Second question was 2 and 3, option C. Second question was 2 and 3, option C. So now we move to the last part of the assumptions exercise. Let's quickly finish it and discuss it in class itself. Please finish 11 to 20. These are a little tougher. Not very tough, but definitely tougher than the ones that you've done. Remember the intent. We are not trying to predict what is going to happen in the future. We are just trying to identify the assumptions of the author. Okay? So please start. You have 15 minutes time. Start. Okay, has everybody finished? If you finish, you can type in the chat box and tell me. If you're doing also, you can tell me. I'll maybe give you 1 or 2 minutes of extra time. Are you done? Everyone's done? Anyone who's still doing it? You can type and tell me if anybody is there, any of you who are still doing it. Nobody? Okay, fine. See, question number 11. If he proves a single charge against me, I vow that I will quit politics forever, said a politician in a speech. Assumption number 1. The charges leveled against the politician are false. What do you think? Does he believe that the charges are false or he is innocent? Maybe, yeah? Maybe, may not be. We don't know. We don't know. He's saying if he proves a single charge against me, I vow that I will quit politics forever. So he believes that nothing can be proven. Right? We can't use our own assumptions. All he's saying is nothing can be proven. Whether he believes he's guilty or whether he believes he's innocent or whether he himself does not know, we can't say we don't know what he thinks. So one is wrong. Second one, the charges leveled against the politician are beyond proof even if true. This is a valid assumption. He believes nothing can be proven. See, he's saying if he proves a single charge, I vow that I will quit politics forever. So he believes that the charges leveled against him cannot be proven, are beyond proof even if true. Are you getting it? Whether he's guilty or whether he's innocent, we can't say that. I mean, not that we can't say, we don't know what he believes because he's not talking about that. All he's saying is no one can prove anything. Okay? I hope you're able to understand. Second assumption is correct. Third one, the politician is fed up of politics. He's not indicated anywhere that he's tired of politics. So no, only the second one. The answer for question 11 is B, only 2. Any doubts with this? I hope it's clear. Option A is eliminated because he doesn't indicate whether he thinks he's guilty or innocent. All he's saying is, if he proves anything, I will quit politics forever. So he is implying that nothing can be proven. Whether he's guilty or innocent, we don't know what he believes. No, all he's saying is you can't prove anything. If you read the statement, what does this mean? This basically means you can't prove anything. So can we say that he believes the charges are false? We don't know. He's not indicating whether he's guilty or innocent. He's just saying you can't prove anything. So option B, yeah. Are you getting the difference? From this statement, we can't say what he believes with respect to him being guilty or innocent. That is your assumption. His confidence shows that he is not against any mischarge. That is your assumption. He's sure nothing can be proven. That's all. Whether he believes he's guilty or whether he believes he's innocent, who knows? Like, he's not indicated anything. So we have to find out the author's assumptions based on what we know. Yes, he's made a very bold claim that I will quit politics forever. What does that mean? That means he believes nothing can be proven. There is no proof. Does that mean that he's innocent? Who knows? Does that mean he's guilty? Who knows? Or let me rephrase that. Does that mean that he believes he's innocent or he believes he's guilty? We can't say. All we can say is this person is very confident that nothing can be proven. Have you got the difference? Okay. Deepan, is it clear? That based on the confidence you're saying he's innocent, that is your assumption. Okay, fine. So yeah, the answer is B, only 2. Then the 12th one, you won't get sweets at any cost. I will not let you eat things that are not good for your teeth. A mother tells this to her child. So assumptions of the mother. Number 1, the mother cares for her child. Yes, that she believes that she's saying, I will not let you eat things that are not good for your teeth. So she believes that she cares for her child. So 1 is valid. Second one, sweets are not good for health. Yes, she says, I will not let you eat things that are not good for your teeth. Teeth is a part of health, dental health. So yes, she believes that sweets are bad for health. And the third one, mother has the authority to decide what a child is to eat. Again, yes. See here, I will not let you. I will not let you means I get to decide. So she believes she has the authority. So all of them are valid assumptions. Answer is D. Okay. For 12th one, the answer is D. All of them. Did everybody get this? Do you have doubts? Please go ahead and ask me your doubts. No, teeth is a part of health. Like if I tell you it is not good for your feet, the part of health. Health is what? Health is your physical well-being. So it's a synonym. It's not assumption. It's a synonym. Just like we used ministry and cabinet interchangeably because they have the same, similar meaning. So dental and, for teeth and health, it can be used interchangeably. Yeah, teeth is part of health. Synonym. Instead of teeth, they've used health here. Dental health, teeth, it's the same thing. Synonyms. Okay? Teeth is not separate from health. Like if I tell you, brush your teeth, otherwise you'll brush every morning, otherwise you'll spoil your gums. So you can say, right, I believe that, brushing your teeth is good for health or not brushing your teeth is bad for health. You can say that because gums are part of health. So that's the reason. Okay guys, is it clear? Karan, Khalid, is it clear to both of you? It's synonymous. Okay, fine. So all of them are valid. Okay. Then the 13th one, washing powder safed, for a washing that is brightest and cleanest and cheap too. This is an advertisement. So assumptions made by the advertiser. Number 1, safed is a good washing powder. Yes, because the ad is saying for a washing that is brightest and cleanest. So yes, they believe that safed is a good washing powder. Second one, people want cheap washing. Again, yes, because they have said and cheap too. So it's cheap has been advertised. This fact has been advertised that it is cheap. So they believe that people want cheap washing. That's why they are advertising this fact. So correct. And third one, people accord price a secondary importance. Also yes, because the primary focus is on washing that is brightest and cleanest. That's the first focus. Second focus, and cheap too. So because if the advertisers believe that price is of primary importance, they would have mentioned cheap first for a washing that is cheap, and then they would have said bright and clean. But they're saying brightest and cleanest. That's the primary focus of the ad, and cheap too comes secondary. So all of them are valid assumptions. 13th is also D. 13th is D. All of them. Any doubts with this? Doubts with 13? Okay. Number 14. There is so much noise out here. How can a sincere student study here? A mother of a student tells her husband. So she's worried that the child will not be able to study because of the noise. So assumptions made by the mother. Number 1, noise is not very conducive to children. Well, she believes that noise is not very conducive to studies, not children. We don't know. She hasn't mentioned about any other activities of children. And children and studies are not, children and student are not synonymous terms. Conducive means favorable, suitable. Conducive means suitable. So 1 is wrong. There's no indication that it's not conducive to children. We know that it's not conducive to studies. Second one, noise may hamper study. Yes, she does believe this. She believes that noise may hamper study. That's what she said. Third one, the mother cares for her child's health. This is irrelevant because this question does not concern health. So we can't say what the mother believes about her care for the child's health. So only the second one. Option A, only 2. Noise may hamper study. 14th is A, only 2. Noise may hamper study. It's irrelevant. This question is not about health. It's about studies. Noise and study. So option 3 is irrelevant. Okay, this question is not about the child's health. But with respect to this question, no. Any other doubts with question 14? Okay, now see question 15. I think we will win. We have got the most talented scorers on our side. The national hockey coach said this in an interview. So assumption 1, talented scorers are crucial for any team's victory. Yes, because he is saying, I think we will win. And why is he saying that? Because we've got the most talented scorers. So in his mind, talented scorers equal to victory. So yes, first assumption is valid, that he believes that talented scorers are crucial for any team's victory. Crucial means important. Second one, hockey is different from other sports. He's not drawing comparison with any other sports. So second one is irrelevant. We can't say anything related to that. Third one, chances of victory are different from actual occurrences of victory. Again, this is an irrelevant statement. He hasn't really highlighted that anywhere. If he had said that, yes, we have got the most talented scorers on our side, but let's wait for the actual result, then we can say he believes that chances are different from actual occurrences. But in this context, it becomes irrelevant, and only the first assumption remains valid, that talented scorers are crucial for any team's victory. So your answer for question 15 becomes A, only 1. Is this also clear? I hope everyone is able to follow. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask me. I hope you are clear till now. Are you clear till now? Okay. All right. So 15th is A. Then 16th. This is a gun in my hand. So you better behave like a good boy and bring out all your valuables without calling the police. A thief tells a housekeeper. So basically he is threatening the housekeeper. What does assumption, just a minute. Assumption 3 means that, the chance that you will win is different from actually winning. That's the meaning. Your chance of winning, say if I say you have an 80% chance of winning, it doesn't mean you're going to win. It means you're most likely to win. So that's what it means, that chances of victory are different from actually winning. But it's irrelevant to this statement. He's just said, I think we'll win because we've got the most talented scorers. He's not made any distinction between chances of winning and actual occurrences of winning. So because of that, statement 3 becomes irrelevant. I hope it's clear. Now, in question number 16, the thief is threatening the housekeeper. So assumptions of the thief. Number 1, when people see a gun, they behave like good boys. This is, see, a valid assumption would be when people see a gun, they may not behave like good boys. So he is threatening you. This is a gun. He's showing a gun. You better behave like a good boy. If he already believes that when people see a gun, they behave like good boys, there is no need to give this warning. In his mind, if he believes if I show this person a gun, he'll behave like a good boy, there's no need to give this warning. He's giving a warning because he believes this person may try to call the police or do something. So 1 is invalid. Second one, fear brings a sense of surrender, is correct. That's why he's trying to scare him. He's trying to scare him with a gun so that he gives him all the valuables. Third one, police should not be called when people are afraid. Again, this is the opposite assumption. A correct assumption would have been people may call the police when they are afraid. That's why he's warning him. All your valuables without calling the police. If he already believes that, people should not call the police when they are afraid, then there is no need of giving a warning. Right? He believes that, he thinks that, okay, this person may try to act smart or may try to call the police. So he's saying, this is a gun. You better behave like a good boy and you should not call the police. So he's warning him because he believes in his mind he may do these kind of things. So only the second one. D is the answer. Because 1 is the exact opposite. If he already believes that people behave like good boys when they see a gun, why give a warning? Getting it? If he already believes that people behave like good boys when they see a gun, what's the point of giving a warning? He believes they may not behave like good boys. That's why he's giving the warning. For example, if you're a policeman and you are chasing a thief and you show him a gun and you say, stop or I will shoot. It means, what are you thinking in your mind? When you show him a gun, he may run. That's what you're thinking, right? You're not thinking, when I show him a gun, he will surrender. If you already believe that if I show him a gun, he'll surrender, there is no need of saying that stop or I will shoot. You're giving a warning because you have a doubt this person may run. So if he already believes that when people see a gun, they behave like good boys, there is no need of giving a warning. He thinks that he may call the police or do something. That's why he's giving a warning. 3 is eliminated because if he already believes that people should not call the police when they are afraid, there is no need of giving a warning. The thief is suspecting that this person may get scared and call the police. That's why he's saying, bring out all your valuables without calling the police. A correct assumption would have been people may want to call the police when they are afraid. That would have been a correct assumption. We don't have it. Just excuse me for a minute. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. So that's the logic. See, assumptions are things that you believe in your mind, that you believe to be true. So when this person is showing and giving a warning that, don't call the police, what is the thief thinking? He may call the police. So I should tell him, don't call the police. If he already believes that if I show him a gun, he'll not call the police, he'll just show him the gun. Is it clear now how 1 and 3 got eliminated? Only 2 remains. Answer is D. Guys, any doubt in this? Please go ahead and ask. Okay, we'll quickly discuss the next 4 as well. 17th one, unless we give sufficient autonomy to them, these units will not be profitable. So what are the assumptions? Number one, these units are not profitable. Correct. He is saying unless we give them autonomy, they will not be profitable, which means currently they are not profitable. They'll be profitable only if we give them sufficient autonomy. So one is correct. Two, these units can become profitable. Yeah, that's why he's saying, right, unless we give them sufficient autonomy, these units will not be profitable, which means if we do give them autonomy, they may end up becoming profitable. If we do give them autonomy, they may end up becoming profitable. So correct. Third one, autonomy is a necessary condition for profitability. Yes, again, yes. He's saying unless we give them autonomy, they will not become profitable. So if they have to become profitable, first they need to get autonomy. So yes, autonomy is required for profitability. So all of them are valid. 17th answer is D, all of them. Okay, 17th answer is D, all of them. I hope it is clear. And now the final three questions, 18, 19, 20. The directions are each of the following items asks you to pick up the hidden premises or assumptions of an argument. Mark the correct answer. Number 18, Edward was just elected president of the student senate, so he must be a senior. Now the statement above makes which of the following assumptions? Now see, he's saying he was just elected president, so he must be a senior, which means only seniors can become presidents. That's what he believes. Statement 1 says only seniors can be members of the student senate. Now, if we ask ourselves, is he talking about membership? The answer is no. He's just talking about a senior getting elected as a president. There is no connection to becoming a member. So, 1 is not a valid assumption. It is wrong. Second one, only seniors can be president of the student senate. Yes. Because he's saying Edward was just elected president, so he must be a senior. Because only seniors, so in his mind, he believes only seniors can be president. So 2 is correct. Third one, only members of the student senate can be seniors. Again, he's not establishing any link between membership and seniority. So B, only 2. 18th is B, only 2. Only 2. The 19th one. So Max has made a statement that every painting done by Picasso is a masterpiece, to which Ernst has replied, that's not true. Several masterpieces by David and Delacroix hang in the Louvre in Paris. So Ernst apparently assumes that Max said that. Now, if you see this, what Max has said and what Ernst has said, do you think it makes sense or is there some misunderstanding? What do you think? It's aligned or there's some misunderstanding between Ernst and Max? There is some misunderstanding, yeah? Max is talking about something else. Ernst is replying to something else. You have to find out what you think. Ernst assumed that Max said. In other words, if this is the answer, you have to select a question for this answer. So what did you select? What was your answer for C? You have to choose a suitable question for this answer. Okay, you are correct. What about the others? What did you choose? Correct. Everyone went for C? Good. It is the correct answer. It is the correct answer. C is the correct answer. Good. Because if I say only masterpieces by Picasso hang in the Louvre, then you can say that's not true. Several masterpieces by David and Delacroix hang in the Louvre. So it makes sense. A says only masterpieces were painted by Picasso. And then if you say that's not true, then you should say some of Picasso's works were not masterpieces. Okay, see, Ernst has replied to Max, but he did not get what Max said. So he said that's not true. Several masterpieces by David and Delacroix hang in the Louvre in Paris. So what is he replying to? What has he heard Max say? So if he heard this, that only masterpieces were painted by Picasso, and if he replies that's not true, so what should he say? He should say many of Picasso's paintings were not masterpieces. That would be an appropriate reply. If he had heard this, all masterpieces were painted by either David or Delacroix, and he replies that's not true, then he will say that other artists also made masterpieces other than David and Delacroix. If he hears this, only masterpieces by Picasso hang in the Louvre, and he says that's not true, then he should say other people's masterpieces also hang in the Louvre, which is exactly what he said here. Several masterpieces by David and Delacroix hang in the Louvre in Paris. So it is correct. Option D, some of Picasso's masterpieces do not hang in the Louvre. If he replies that's not true to this, then he should say all of Picasso's masterpieces hang in the Louvre. So you have to figure out what Ernst heard Max say rather than what Max actually said, because there is a miscommunication here. So C is the answer. Is it clear now? Ernst has not heard correctly whatever Max said. So we have to find out what Ernst thought Max said. Guys, is it clear? If you have any doubts, please ask me. I'll explain it again. You have to figure out what this guy heard. Okay. And the last question, students at Duns Scotus High must get a better education than students at Erasmus High because the grade point average of students of the former means Duns Scotus, is higher than that of students of the latter. The latter is Erasmus High. So this person believes that students at Duns Scotus are getting a better education because their GPA or the grade point average is higher. I'll explain it after question 20. So the claim above depends on which of the following assumptions. Number one, the average grade earned by students is a good measure of the quality of education that a student receives. So yes, he does, because he's using the grade point average as a yardstick to measure the quality of education. So he believes that the average grade earned by students is a good measure of the quality of education. So the first assumption is valid. Second assumption, extracurricular activities at Duns Scotus High are given more emphasis than at Erasmus High. There is no indication of any extracurricular activity, so second is irrelevant. Third one, the grading standards at the two high schools are roughly the same. So is he comparing using the grade point average? Is he comparing the quality of education using both places grade point average? Yes. So he believes that the grading standards are roughly the same. Because now if I tell you that at Duns Scotus students are given marks very easily, whereas at Erasmus the marking is difficult, now you can no longer say that because students at Duns Scotus are getting a higher GPA, they must be getting a better education because the standards are not the same. So in order to compare, you have to believe that standards are roughly the same. So third one is also valid. Your answer becomes 1 and 3. 20th answer is C, 1 and 3. So those are your answers for the 20 questions. I think some of you have unresolved doubts. Please ask them. One doubt was then first 3 should be correct. No, first 3 should not be correct. How can the first 3 be correct? If he heard only masterpieces were painted by Picasso and he replies that's not true, then what will he say? He will say many of Picasso's paintings were not masterpieces. What is the meaning of only masterpieces were painted by Picasso? It means every painting done by Picasso was a masterpiece. So if he replies that's not true, then he will say some of his paintings are not masterpieces. Similarly, second one, all masterpieces were painted by either David or Delacroix. If he says that's not true, then he will say other people also made masterpieces. So it's not correct. C is the only one that's correct. Other doubts, please. Somebody had a doubt with the previous question. I said I'll resolve it at the end. I forgot who asked that. Please get your doubts clarified now. Doubt solving time. And those who don't have doubts, you can log out. Today's class is over. Hope it was useful. Thank you. We'll solve more questions in the next class. More passages in the next class. Question 2, it is mentioned roughly same. Yeah. More or less. Roughly the same means more or less the same. So if you have to compare two things, you have to assume that the standards are the same. For example, if you want to measure two people's height, then you have to make them stand on the same ground. Only then you can measure. So he believes that, the way of giving marks is roughly the same. Only then he can compare. Because if in one place marks are being given very easily and in another place marks are not being given easily, then you can't say that grading standards are roughly the same. Question 17.